All right, guys, welcome to this special module of SMMA where we're going to be breaking down exactly what's involved in building six-figure funnels for your customers. Now, if you're just getting started and you're not familiar with what a marketing funnel is, we're going to be covering that. We're also covering what goes into a funnel exactly, the pages, the email marketing side, and we're going to discuss how you can bring a lot of value to your customers so that they are really, really excited to send you those checks that they're paying you every month. So a little bit of background just so you have some idea of what I do. I actually build funnels for companies, and I've been doing it for years, and my pricing's changed through the years, but I did start just like the course suggests with a monthly retainer fee of around $1,000 a month. And the beautiful thing about marketing funnels when they're done correctly is that if you come into a company that doesn't have a very good marketing funnel and you create an amazing one for them, a lot of times you can add 20, 30, 200, 500% to their bottom line. And this is going to make them very happy, and it's going to give you a lot of great testimonials that you'll be able to use to get more clients. So that's really the big benefit of learning this service, because the toughest thing really with taking people from someone who's interacting with your client or yourself on social media to being a customer is really that process of nurturing them into a lead first and then to a customer. So that's why they call it a funnel, because we're going to start at the very top of this big old funnel, and we're going to actually funnel people down through it. So up at the very top of our funnel, we're going to have the actual social media platforms that we are setting up for our customers. So whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, whatever it is, this is the very top. That's where most of our audience is going to be before they actually start interacting with us. So that's the very top of our funnel. That's where most people are, and we'll just keep it really simple. Let's say we have 100 people interacting with us at this level, right? That's our very top of our funnel. The next step really is the website. And we're going to talk a little bit about how a traditional website really isn't the most valuable thing that you can create for a customer. They're useful, and it's great to have the home about, contact page, all that good stuff, but we're going to talk about some very specific pages that are extremely useful to clients and how you can set those up to be high converting. So from our social platforms, getting the people from there to our website, let's say we get 50% of them there. It's not necessarily a typical number, but just for argument's sake, we're sending them down through our website, right? So less people, right? Going down the funnel. After our website, maybe we're bringing them into an email follow-up. So we have 100 people up on our social platforms, and maybe that's even Facebook advertising. Really anybody who's out on the web but not directly on our own platforms just yet. Then they're going to come down to our website and our landing pages. And then there is something called an opt-in. Now this is where we're actually collecting information about our user. We'll talk about specifically what's entailed in those and how they work. But for now, just think of it as a way to earn the information from our potential customer. So they go from up here, from just someone that we're interacting with, to here, which this is usually just a click, right? So we're sending them from an ad of our social platforms or a post or a snap, whatever it is, and we're getting a click down to our website or landing pages. And then from here, we're actually capturing an email. So capture email. Now, that process is pretty simple. We use what's called an autoresponder, which there's hundreds and hundreds of these tools out online. We'll talk about some of the specific technology you can use to set these up really simply. And that's one of the beautiful things about pretty much setting up hundreds and hundreds of these myself, is I've broken about everything you can online. So I've learned what works and what doesn't. So I'll be sharing with you some of the tools that will make your life so much easier, especially if you're just getting started and you want to avoid a lot of the mistakes that people make when they get started setting these guys up. Because it can be a little overwhelming, especially at the start. You start looking at all these lines and diagrams and you're thinking about your funnel, and it can seem almost like there's too much work to do at this point. But let me put it in a really simple term. We're really just taking somebody on a trip. We're introducing them to an idea. We're taking them through some bits of information, and then we're giving them the option to buy what we're selling. And as they go down the funnel, there are going to be less and less people who are qualified. So 100 people may be qualified to interact with our social platform, but we may only have 50 that are qualified enough to click on our ad or our post to come to our landing page. And then maybe only half of those people come into our follow-up and become a lead at this point, right? And then this is where the fun part starts to happen, is we actually are bringing them from a lead into that email follow-up sequence. So there's a lot of different ways to do this, and there's some super technical ways, but we'll keep it simple here at the start, and we'll just keep it a few email sequence to introduce them to our products and services. So this is something you can do for a client. Most companies out there, they just don't have this set up. This is fairly high-level stuff. It's usually a business just doesn't even have this in place. So you coming into a business that already has sales coming in, and they already have a track record of having a product that's great or a service that's great, you're going to be coming in at this level, creating something like this for them, and be super valuable to them. All right, so we're coming from the platform to our website, to our email follow-up. We're sending our leads through these different emails, and we're sending all of these leads to the very end of our funnel here, which is our sales message. And really, out of the 100 people that start at the very top of our funnel, maybe only 10% buy, maybe only 5% buy. Let's go with 10%. So only 10 people make it all the way to the end of our funnel. But that's okay, because depending on what a sale is worth to your customer, those 10 people, it may be a lot of money. So let's do some of the basic math here for your customer. Let's say that their product is $2,000. And you set something up that converts this well. And we'll go smaller here. We'll just go with 3% sales rate. So out of 100 people who interact with our funnel, only 3 people buy. Now, the math here works out great in our favor. Let's say that to get 100 people with our advertising, our social platform, whatever it is, let's say it costs, we'll say $4 a click. So 100 clicks to our website at $4, that's $200, right? Now, if we do all of our math or our funnel correctly, as they come down through here, our cost per lead comes in, their product is $2,000, and we get 3 sales. That's $6,000 in sales for $200. Now, it's not always going to work out that way. Obviously, if their price is less or the cost per click is up, those variables are going to change wildly. But there's not going to be one customer out there that sees you generate $6,000 worth of value for $200 in spend, advertising spend, and not be incredibly happy with what you're doing. So let's go through next and talk about some of the basics of what our funnel is actually going to look like, some of the tools we can use to set it up. But this is the basic concept here we're going to be covering in more depth here of what it takes to take a lead or someone who's interacting with our marketing message all the way down to a sale. So let's jump into the next part here. Okay, so let's talk now about what it really takes to generate a lead, because it's really the lifeblood of any business. If you're going into a business and pitching them a digital marketing package or a social media management package, the real goal isn't just to have a cool Instagram page with a lot of followers and a Facebook page with a lot of likes. It's really about taking those people who are interacting with us on social and taking them and generating a lead. So pretty common sense. However, you'd be surprised how many people miss that mark. So let's talk about what it takes to generate a lead. Now, a simple concept that you can keep in mind when we're taking them from being just a social media follower to a lead is there's going to be a gap of information between that following and becoming a lead, and we need to bridge that gap. There's something in sales, it's a pretty simple concept, but the more we educate the people that we're interacting with, the more likely they are to buy from us, because that process of teaching is actually influencing them to take action, and we can guide them towards taking action that helps us and our clients, right? So the first thing we want to do is educate our audience. So one of the easiest ways to do that is to create content that teaches them. So what I like to do is actually create a page. So we'll call it just a lead page here. This is really the first step of the funnel, because what we're doing is we're sending people to the lead page from our advertising and our social posts. And this lead page can have all kinds of things. You know, the big mistake people usually make is they just try to go right for people's information without giving them anything in return. So we actually want to make what's called a freemium, and this can be a simple ebook, a video. The goal of this free guide that they're going to get in exchange for our information is twofold. One, the free guide is going to educate them and build influence with them. But two, it's also going to qualify them as a lead, because we don't want we don't want to say opt in and get $100, because then everyone's going to come into our funnel and they might not be a qualified lead. So our freemium here, our free guide, needs to have those attributes of qualifying our audience, and also teaching them. So let's say, we'll make this kind of a twofold lesson here. Let's say you're making your own lead generation tool here for you to capture potential clients for your service, and your service is doing Facebook advertising. So you might make a free guide called the 5 Mistakes Businesses Start when they're hiring an agency to run their Facebook marketing. Pretty precise guide, right? That's only going to appeal to people who have a business that have considered doing Facebook advertising in the past. So that free guide is qualifying our audience, and then it's also going to teach them. Then, this is where you get to shine and use your expertise to actually teach them in the write-up of this free guide those 5 mistakes. So, one mistake might be they go to the lowest priced person out there. And then your argument is that you get what you pay for, basically. Number 2 might be that they buy based solely on the recommendations of others, and their friend recommended someone to them, but they didn't look at their track record. So that you're going down, you're making the sales argument as well as teaching them for why to work with you. So that free guide is going to have a last part where we're actually going to put a call to action in the guide itself. And this guide, again, it can be a write-up, or it can be a video, or it could literally just be a page with the information written out on it. It doesn't have to be anything terribly complex. The main thing is it needs to be useful to the person downloading it, or watching it, or reading it, and it needs to teach them. And the last part is we need to do a call to action. So that free guide, the last part of it is going to be a basic sales message. If you want to learn more, contact us today and we'll help you find a great Facebook advertiser. It could be click here to buy now. This is where the sales messaging from Raymond's section on copywriting is really going to come into play for this free guide. Now, we're not going to give them this free guide on the very first page here. So this is our lead page 1. This is why they call it a funnel, right? Because we're going to be funneling down again. So our lead page 1 is literally just going to be, it could be an image of the guide, it can be a mock-up. You can use tools to make 3D mock-ups of like an ebook. Or it could literally you could just write out what it is. It doesn't need to be terribly complex. It just needs to get the point across, right? And then the next part is actually where we're going to capture their information. So we're going to capture their name and their email. Pretty basic stuff, right? Now, at this point, depending on your client, a name and email may not be enough. We can also capture their phone number, their business. We can capture all kinds of different information on this form. However, generally speaking, as long as you get their name and email, you can follow up with them and get more information later if you want. And then after they actually fill out that information and hit the button to continue, then it goes to the second part of our lead gen page, which is the thank you page. Now there's a couple different ways to do this page. We'll just briefly touch on some of the points, but this is a very powerful page actually if you do it right. We can include a sales message directly on this page if we want. We can say, thank you, we're going to send you your guide in an email. So that's the next part of this funnel is actually sending an email. Or we can have the download right on the page. Now, I generally like to actually send it in an email because this does a couple things. One, it makes sure that their email actually works because some people just put in a fake email. So they won't get the free guide or the free video or whatever unless they put in their real email. It's a good way to confirm that they have the right email. And also, it emphasizes that they have to go through a couple of steps here. So they call those micro commitments here. So they've made the commitment to click from the ad. They're going on a phase, a couple different steps here. Click on the ad, put in their name and email, click on it. They've made it to the thank you page. Then they're going to go again to their email. So they're taking a lot of steps here, which may sound like a bad thing because we're going to lose people along the way. 50% of people might not opt in. 20% of those people might not check their email, kind of thing. But what we're doing is we're actually building more of an interaction with these people so they get to see our name more, or our customers' names more, and they get to interact with us more. Now there's all kinds of different lead pages. As I mentioned, giving the free guide away is the easiest one to get started with. We can also do a survey on this page or collect their information to do a strategy session if we want, depending on what our customer is selling. Generally, if they're selling a product, we'll just be capturing their name and email and following up. With a service, we may want to get more information. But again, we're going from the advertising to the main page where they add their information, their name and email, to a thank you page. And then the magic of using online technology is generally we're going to be putting that information over into a cool tool called an autoresponder. And there's all kinds of these different tools out there. The one I tend to use for all my clients, just because it's one of the lowest cost ones out there, and also it just has an amazing tool set for the price. It's called ActiveCampaign. And you can actually get started for like $9 with a basic package, and it does just about anything you can think of with email marketing. You can even set up these pages within it that'd be a little more basic. But we'll talk more about that side of the tech later. But again, capturing that information, and it's going to go into an email autoresponder under an email list. And that email list is going to become one of the most valuable assets in your business and your customer's business. Just to emphasize that a little bit, if you look at the lead databases out there that people build over time, the average lead for an online business, one that's selling like digital and info products or software, is worth anywhere from $1 to $2 per lead per month. So over the course of a year, you may build a list of 100,000 people for a client, or even for yourself if you do it right. And that list, if it's nurtured correctly with good emails and good follow-up and all that, it's going to be worth anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 per month. It's generally how the math works out. So we want to keep that in mind, that email list is actually a super valuable asset to our customer. And what's really cool is because we are the ones that are facilitating it, we're building this list for them, we become kind of the gatekeeper of that value, and they're going to want to stay with us to get the most value out of that email list. So this is a basic lead capture. Now let's talk about what we can do after we have the leads. So this is really the next step in the funnel, and we'll just keep it going at the top here. We'll just do our ad over to our lead capture. And now we're going to go into our follow-up. Now they say in sales, if you're doing even just phone sales, follow-up is where 90% of the magic happens. Most people aren't going to buy directly from the ad to the landing page where you're selling something. Most people are going to need to be nurtured. And it's just like making a friend. The first time you meet them, they're an acquaintance. The second time, they're still kind of an acquaintance. Maybe they get to know you a little bit better. By the third time, hopefully they know your name and who you are and where you're from. But if you want to become close friends, it's going to take some time. Now, depending on the price point of the product is generally how I gauge how much follow-up there's going to be in my email sequence. If it's like a $9, cat sock that they're buying, it may only be one email because they're either going to impulsively buy my cat sock for $9 or not. There's not a lot of arguments I can make for or against buying cat socks. But if it's a $2,000 to $10,000 business consulting package, they may need a little more convincing than a simple 1-2 email sequence. So usually what I like to do is I call it it's a 5-part email sequence, and refer again to Raymond's copy training. It's earlier in this product here, but the simplest way I can put it is I call it the K. Gotta make sure I get the abbreviation right. KLTCC email sequence. So it's know, like, trust, challenge, convert. Yep, that's 2 C's. There we go. So this is generally what I do in the follow-up here. Because again, we're putting them into our autoresponder, which is again a piece of software that captures and creates that email list. And then we're going to be creating what's called an email sequence. So this is the technical term for the follow-up is email sequence. And in that email sequence is where I like to put 5 basic emails called know, like, trust, challenge, convert. So let's just talk through these real quick, what they are and what you can include in them. And it's a great email sequence to include with a new client because you're going to be able to learn a lot about them while you're gathering the information for these emails, and you're going to be able to get to know a lot about their customers and their products. And I just had to make sure that I wrote out every little email here. So the basics of this sequence, the know part. So they just opted in for this free guide or whatever we're giving away on this lead page, right? In the know section here, we can start out the email with a basic intros. Here's your download, it's attached, or click here to watch the video, whatever it is. And then we are not only going to get them to know us, but the know here is really more about letting them know that we understand who they are. This is where a lot of people mess up in marketing, and they talk too much about themselves. So a lot of people might start this email with, I'm Sean Vossler, I'm great at marketing, I do all this great marketing stuff, and you should hire me because I'm awesome, and here's my results. That's okay. It can get the point across, it can tell them what you do, get them to know you, but a better way is actually to acknowledge the things you know about them. Let's talk a minute, let's go back to that case study of someone who's running a Facebook ads service. The way I like to structure this is talking to them about themselves. So, thank you for opting in, Bob. Attaches your free guide. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I know you run into issues with your day-to-day business. If you're like many of our clients, a lot of them have issues actually generating new leads for their business. And looking out, there's this big opportunity out there in online advertising, and it can be difficult and overwhelming to know what direction to go in. Now, for me and my company, we've spent a lot of time looking at what really brings results for businesses. And something we know that helps businesses is actually working with somebody who gets to know their business as well as they know their own business. And you can go on and make this argument as to why you understand them. Because that's really the core concept of selling. If someone doesn't feel understood, if someone feels like they're being sold at, most of the time they're not interested. They're going to be checked out. But if you have someone who shows genuine interest in you and then they explain back to you what exactly your issues are, there's automatic trust built into that. So that's generally what I'll include in the first email with the call to action to get that free guide. And also, always in any of these emails, I'll generally do a call to action either in the PS or last paragraph. That's really just kind of a soft sale, and I'll build it more and more every single email. The first email might be, PS, if you agree with these issues and you're facing them yourselves and you'd like to talk to us about how we could help you grow leads for your business, click here. And maybe that leads directly to where they can contact you, right? In the next email, the like email, I generally actually like to tell a story. And this is where you can go into a specific case study of another client. And we've all heard the know, like, trust factor, that kind of go-to marketing terminology that always comes up. But for me, like generally is referring to building a foundation of more of a friendship. And a good way to do that is to share a story. We all love stories. If you're a big fan of TED Talks, something that's interesting about TED Talks is they're about 75% story on average, if you break them all down. So everybody likes a good story. It's pretty much the best way to connect with anybody. So in our like email, we can start it out with a simple follow-up, maybe 24 hours. I usually do 24 hours to 48 hours between these. So we'll just go with a basic 24 hours. So we delay this next email, obviously, right, to the next day. And it follows up, and maybe it's along the lines of, yesterday you downloaded our free guide. Really appreciate that. If you want to see it again, you can click here. But today I want to tell you a little bit about Joe's Bakery and how we worked together to solve a really big problem for them. Joe's Bakery didn't have enough leads coming in on the corporate side of their business. And it was really where they made most of their money, was actually doing corporate events and bringing bagels to these events. Now, they came to us with this problem and said, we're doing plenty of walk-by store business, but our real money is in getting leads for these corporate events. And that's where we came in and we said, well, what if we did an advertising campaign and we gave away free bagels to the first 20 people who clicked on the ad, something like that. Whatever you did in your case study. I'm kind of pulling one out of my head. But the goal here is to really give them somebody that they can put what's the best way to say that? Someone that they can put their shoes, something on here. Come on, guys, help me out with this one. You can put yourself in their shoes. There we go. All right, so edit that crap out. No, I'm just kidding. So this is to really get the like factor here. They're going to want to be able to put themselves in the shoe of the person that you're giving the case study about. So that's the next part here, is usually a case study. And if you don't have a case study, if you're just getting started, it can be an example out of a book. It can be an example of a fictitious client, someone in an industry similar to theirs. It shouldn't be, you should make it clear that it's not your real case study. You could say, imagine. You just have to start it with imagine. And imagine you are a bakery shop and you get all your money from these corporate events. So that imagine word makes it clear that this is a fictitious story. But we can jump right in that case study in the next level. And then the follow-up after that, and again, in the end of this, we're doing a call to action to get them to buy. So we're going to put over here, actually, our sales page. And we'll talk more about that next. But for now, we'll just keep it at that. So all of these are always going to link over to our sales page or more information about us and our service, right? And that's really what the sales page is breaking down what we do. Now, in the trust email, this is where I like to go into more testimonial-based stuff. And again, we're building kind of this series of emails, and they build on each other, and we can talk about the past emails. So our trust email, we can keep it simple and actually just acknowledge the last email. We can say, in the last email, we talked a bit about the example of Joe's Bakery and how we helped them, double their leads in 2 months. Now, below, I want to share with you a few more testimonials of people we've worked with in the past and how we've helped their business. And literally, this is a great place where you can go out to past clients and ask them, say, what was one thing of working with our business that really, stood out to you? What did you enjoy about working with us? Or if you have hard numbers, this is a good place to include that. We doubled their leads, we increased their sales by 20%, whatever it is that we've done. This is where a great place to build that trust. Now, again, if you're just getting started, this trust email, it's going to be a little more difficult because you might not have any case studies yet. You may not have any testimonials. It's where we can start talking about specifics of how powerful the tools we are using are. So if you don't have any case studies or testimonials, talk about how great Facebook advertising has been for someone else. And you can literally go to the business.facebook.com, and they have a sales page as to why people should use Facebook advertising. Whatever your service is or whatever your client's service is, there's going to be something that they're selling, and if it's something that other people have used, there are already case studies out there that you can use. You just can't claim that they're yours. So you could literally take some examples for the Facebook ads example, you can literally take examples from business.facebook and include those as well. So that's a great place to go, but it's always going to be more powerful if they're your own testimonials. All right, so again, end of this one, same thing. We're going to start building more of a case as to why they should work with us, link them over to our sales page. Now, these are the last two emails here that, personally, this is kind of my bread and butter, where I found that probably 60, 70% of sales come in if they're still engaged, because these are the hard hitter emails. The challenge email here comes from a concept that comes out of a book called The Challenger Sales. And the idea here is that the best salespeople out there in the world aren't necessarily the people that you know, like, and trust, ironically, even those are our first sections here. Because at this point, they haven't bought, right? We know they know us, they like us, and they trust us, and they still haven't bought. Why is that? Well, Harvard Business Review did a really in-depth study on the best salespeople in the world, and they found that they fall under this category of the challenger salesperson. And what these people do that's so different than taking someone on a golf course and getting them to know, like, and trust you, is they actually challenge the assumptions of their customers. So the customer of our customer, or our customer directly, they're not as informed as we are of our own service, obviously. So they're going to have misconceptions about Facebook advertising. They're going to have misconceptions about email marketing. They're going to have misconceptions about many, many things in our business. And this is our chance to clear those up. So in the challenge email, we can include things like, most people think. That's generally how I almost always start the email like that. Most people think, Facebook marketing is the best kind of marketing out there. The truth is they're wrong. It's not the most powerful marketing out there. In reality, Facebook marketing without email marketing attached is half as effective. And you can back it up with statistics, right? So a lot of this is about counterintuitive statements. So what they think, what most people think is wrong, and then giving them the information that helps build us as an authority here. So build that authority with them, challenge things that they may believe about your product or service. And a nice, beautiful side effect of this is it usually disqualifies your competition. So when I'm selling a marketing service to a client, I'll say, you know what? I could get somebody to do this for you, this exact same service I'm doing, for about 1/10 of the cost. Be honest, a lot less. You could go to anybody else. But here what I always find, and why people always come back to me, is the most important part of executing any of this is actually being able to complete it on a timeline and actually have experience with it and deliver results. And that counterintuitive, that price, you know, the 1/10 of the price that it normally is versus what it is now, generally is kind of throws people off a little bit. But for me, it works really well because it builds the point of, do you want results or do you want to pay less right now? So that's the next email. We want to be able to challenge their assumptions, and then we can do a solid, you know, call to action at this point and bring them again to our sales page to make the sale. Now the last email here is generally kind of a Hail Mary at this point. These are all very strategic emails, and you're going to get most of your emails from these first, you know, 4 emails, because we're doing really soft sales at this point. We're actually, you know, making intelligent arguments. We're sharing very good reasons as to why they should sign up, right? Now this last email is called the convert email because we're going to do what's called direct marketing. Which in Raymond's course or section on copywriting, he talks a lot about this. But to me, direct marketing isn't the most efficient or the most effective type of marketing. This is always going to out-convert direct marketing. However, for a certain segment of the population, including most of us in different buying situations, direct marketing just works. And what direct marketing is building a case using urgency and scarcity and all the tools that go into that type of marketing to create more of a direct sales message as to why they should buy. So we may say something along the lines of, you know, you're missing out big time by not running Facebook ads right now, and you know this. We've worked with dozens of clients to help them double, triple their sales, and we'd love to work with you to help you do the same. So this is a direct, you know, bias or don't kind of situation. Still works really well, and it's why I include it, but it is not where we want to start, because here's the thing. If we make the sale up here, up above the convert email, we're going to have a much higher quality customer because they're going to buy based on an informed decision. They're going to be informed about us, our customers, that we understand who they are, that we understand their challenges, and we've taught them a thing or two. If we're using urgency, scarcity, these kind of psychological, we'll call them tricks a little bit here, to get the sale, I've found that generally they're not as high quality of a customer. Usually they just aren't as invested in the actual service. So still good to include, will help you get more sales, but it's kind of a last resort sales message here. All right, so let's jump into the last part here of talking about our actual sales page, the technology behind it, and what we can do with some cool technology that is in Facebook ads itself to get the most out of all these pages. So again, we're bringing people out of these emails over to this sales page. So again, we've started with our ad or our social profile, over to our lead page, over to our follow-up. And in the follow-up, which is, you know, those 5 emails, we're always bringing them over to the sales page. Now, our sales page can be all kinds of different things. It's very difficult to put it all under one category, but there is things that all sales pages should have. However, you can get away with much less items, and it may not even be a page. It may be a video. There's really just having a place where they can complete a transaction or set up a consulting call or something like that. So something our sales page needs to include, you know, the general headline. Again, I would definitely recommend referring back to the copywriting section to get more in-depth information on how to actually create these items. But I want to walk through some of the different things they definitely should include. Our headline, which is usually benefit-driven, something about them, why they need to pay attention to what's on this page. A good friend of mine who's a great marketer, you know, his big thing about headlines and subheadlines was, you know, the job of the headline is to get you to go to the next headline, to get you to go to the next section, to read the next bit of information. So these are catchy bits, one-liners, designed to help them continue down the page. Generally, I will include what's called a VSL. And again, since you're selling this as a service, you have to keep in mind the more items you have here, the better it will convert, but also the more time it'll take to put it together. So take this all with a grain of salt. You can get away with a really simple sales page if the message is clear enough. But a VSL is a video sales letter, which is basically a video that sells them basically the same thing that's on the page, right? So that we've had our headline, our VSL, our benefits, and then what I like to call the benefit of the benefits. So the benefit might be you get more leads, but the benefit of that benefit is you get to work less and go play more golf, something like that. So you can keep building up on that argument there as to why they should work with you. It's always good to include social proof, which is case studies and testimonials. Now this is going to apply to you or your clients. If you have a sales page, these are things you should include, but your clients also should have this. Now in your service, this is where, for me, I generally like to work with customers who already have a sales page. They've already made sales. If you're starting from scratch, this can be somewhat overwhelming, especially if you're just getting started. So I'm going to recommend adding that kind of to the prerequisite, I guess you'd call it, of what kind of customers you like to look for. If they're already made their first sale, then it's going to be a lot easier to set up all this and send them to a sales page that's already working. Now you can come in and help them improve their page. That is the best place to be, because then you're still adding value, but you're not creating all this from scratch, right? So a few other things, we can include the features. And these are really in the order of priority. However, you can mix and match here. And then simple call to action, right? So that's the basic structure of any good sales page. And at this point, we're going to send them this page, and a couple things can happen. Generally speaking, if they're coming to this page, it can be directly from an ad, though I found that to be less effective than sending them through a follow-up sequence, especially for higher priced products. Excuse me. But if we're going straight from an ad to the page itself, we're really not going to be capturing a lead on this page, are we? Now, there is a technology called an exit intent pop, which I'm just going to place this in the back of your mind. There's tools that can set this all up, like ClickFunnels and things like that. But basically, it's kind of a ninja trick to be able to capture a lead on a sales page without making it a lead page. So imagine you click on an ad, you go to a page, and I'm looking through the copy, I'm kind of interested, and then I take my little mouse and I leave the browser. There's a little tool called an exit intent that will pop up, and I usually like to say something along the lines of, wait, before you go, download this free guide, right? And you have a picture of it, name and email. Same exact thing as our lead page, except it just kind of pops up on the page, a little like black border around it, and it'll pop up and give them a chance to opt in as a lead. I've had up to sales pages capture about 13% of traffic, and that's out of 100 people, that's 13 more leads for every 100 that come to that page. So this is a super cool piece of technology that you can use, especially if you're running ads directly to the sales page. If you're doing it in the follow-up, you won't really need that. You could just do another call to action, maybe with a payment plan or something like that. Now, another great thing to include, and this is touched on a lot in the Facebook advertising section of this training, but we want to make sure that we have retargeting on here. And this is, again, a big part of our funnel. We can have all kinds of retargeting ads that either bring them to our lead page or directly back to our sales page. You can get really creative here with the marketing. There's all kinds of crazy funnels that we can build. I generally like to keep it simple at first, because the more complex a funnel becomes, the harder it becomes to find out where issues are. So, you know, if we have a super complex with like webinars and all these different things, we're going to have more difficult time identifying the breakpoints of a funnel, because generally there's going to be areas where we can improve a lot. And sometimes there's areas that just kill a sale, and we will need to identify those. So that's why I like to keep it simple at first and have a simple funnel at first. So let's review just a bit of the concept here, and then in the next section we'll actually cut over to the computer and we'll look at setting one of these up from scratch. Over my shoulder, I'll show you some of the tools I use and some of the techniques I use for setting them up. And the real nice thing is I'm going to show you how to do it at a really low cost per client. If you're charging them, you know, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, whatever it is per month for this type of service, your cost to actually set up the technology side of it, we can keep under $100 a month. Often we could even do it on a really shoestring budget and get it down to like $20, $30 a month per $1,000 customer. And you could even bill them for it. So that's what we'll jump into next. But let's review the major concept here is we're helping not only, if we set this up for ourselves, it's going to be a great way for us to generate new leads and sales, right? But for our customers, 90% of businesses out there, maybe even more these days, don't have this system set in the back end. Usually they have, you know, maybe one retargeting ad, maybe they have one email, but most aren't going to have as in-depth a follow-up sequence as this, especially with this kind of strategy that I've tried and tested hundreds of times, and we've done millions and millions of sales with it. So when you're able to come in, introduce these concepts and your sales process to them, it should get them excited. It should get you excited, because the main core benefit to your business is that you're going to become invaluable. They're not going to want to ever get rid of you. Personally, I sell this service on an equity basis. I don't actually have a fee anymore that I charge. I do it on percentage of sales because of how effective it is. So I'll set these up for customers if they have the right attributes on a percentage. So if you can go through, learn the technology side of this, learn the copy, you know, that is one of the biggest areas that's difficult, higher bar of entry for people to get started. But learn the copy, implement it in that structure we talked about there, and we'll be able to actually set this up. So let's go over to the computer, take a look at the actual technology side now.